Good morning. It's morning, right?
Yeah,
Good morning, everyone.
morning.
This is Ian Trevethan. I am the Education and Outreach Manager here at the Sternberg Museum of Natural History. And I am here with
I'm Jacob Alexander.
Jacob.
Yeah. I've been in a few of the live videos before, but today we're out on the trails and we're going to be talking a little bit about my research out here. So a little bit of about me. I'm an undergraduate here at Fort Hays, and I'm in conservation biology. That's my major. Or natural resources, kind of depending upon who you are.
But that's not really how you got introduced to the museum, is it?
Yeah, no. So I've been here at the museum volunteering or working, so in some capacity for about 12 years now. So since I was 9 years old. So I've been around for a while, more than half my life.
So it's a little weird because, I always think of Jacob as a kid, and well, look at him.
Yeah, I've grown up a little bit. I got a little bit more face on or hair on the face.
Fuzzier. I'm getting grayer. So Jacob is actively doing research out here in our nature trail. So I'm going to sort of flip the screen here so we can look at Jacob.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so tell us a little bit about how did this come about, dude?
Right, yeah, so we're on the nature trails. It's about 22 acres. We got the property in 2010 from an EPA grant, and basically from the moment that we got the trails, the property in general, we saw that there needed to be a lot of restoration that needed to happen. It used to be pasture land, used to be a little bit of farm, and there were some invasive species and some stuff that just really wasn't quite natural. And so what we wanted to do was start restoring the entire property. And a part of that was identifying the species that we have out here, what are the communities doing, how healthy are they, what species do we need to look at to make sure that we're doing the best for our property from both.
So when you say species, what species are you talking about? What kind of organism are you interested in?
Right, so personally, I'm a reptile and amphibian kind of person. That's where I have a lot of my focus, but I'll do a lot of other things. I've worked with bats, I've worked with small mammals, fish, all kinds of different things. And that's
so you're much more interested in sort of vertebrate kind of things rather than, let's say, plants or that kind of thing.
For the most part. I do enjoy plants quite a lot. When I walk through the trails, I always see like a new plant that I try to identify, or a plant that I haven't seen out here that I try to keep note of, and just kind of a mental note too. So not necessarily all vertebrates, but vertebrates are what really happens.
So specifically, your research then is focusing on what kind of organisms?
Right, so this is I have two different projects going on. One is in its fourth year, which are these cover boards here. You guys might have seen those in previous Facebook Lives. And so what we're doing with these is essentially when you're out in a natural habitat, reptiles and amphibians, they'll want to go under rocks, certain species anyway. And so the best way to study those is to go out and flip those rocks. And if you can't do that, and if you want to simulate that, one of the best ways to do it is to have these plywood boards. And so they're just 4x8 sheets of plywood. And so they provide an artificial cover for these species that generally use rocks.
So this is open to the general public. In fact, we've got some people over here that are enjoying the trail. So when you see these out here, leave them alone.
Yeah. So
this is research.
We actually just recently put signs on here. They're kind of starting to fade a little bit, so we'll have to update them. But essentially, the boards are out here for research. The animals that are underneath them are very important. They're individually tagged with pit tags, so the same type of thing that you would have in a dog or a cat, tiny little microchip. And so when we catch them, we use a pit tag reader. We read them, see what the individual is, and that way we can go back and see what their movements are.
If you don't have a chip in there, you put a chip in them?
Right, exactly.
That's pretty cool.
If it's not pit tagged, we go and take them into the lab, and in a proper setting, we go ahead and implant them with a pit tag, and that way we can identify them in the future. So
how often do you see the same one?
So now that we're in the fourth year of the study, mainly what's underneath the boards is skinks. It's a type of lizard.
Cool.
So I think we have, I want to say probably around 30 skinks tagged, maybe a little bit more. I'd have to go back and look at the numbers, but basically every time I check the boards, if there's something underneath it, we're going to have something that's recaptured.
So do skinks, do they have an established range where they, are they individually territorial? Do they have their own hangout, or are they a little more communal?
So they're not necessarily a communal species, although you can find multiple underneath boards. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't checked the literature 100%, or I haven't been able to find anything in the literature that says what their range is. But based on our study here, they have a relatively small range. They'll move maximum of maybe 20 meters. Although we did have an individual that moved around 170 meters.
Oh, that's cool.
It was actually across the creek. So
wow.
Yeah, and it's cool to say that, oh man, that skink made it across the creek, but the reality of it is probably it got moved by somebody.
Yeah, I was about to ask, is that a natural occurrence, or is that an artificial or anthropomorphic?
Yeah, I mean, for a lizard that's maybe around 8 to 10 inches long, to go across maybe a 12-foot span of water is probably something else other than that lizard taking.
All right,
there.
Cool. So should we check out and see if there's anything under here?
Flip the sport. It's a cool morning, pretty humid, so let's see if there's anything underneath this one. Doesn't look like anything.
Got some bugs.
Yeah, this is pretty typical. So the surrounding vegetation and what we're walking in is a little bit moist from the morning too, but underneath here it's nice and dry. And so if something wants to escape from the moisture, they can come underneath here. But a lot of times when these boards are moist underneath here is when they really want to be under here. So
right.
They have their skin moist. They're hidden from predators, and they
sure.
can actually maintain a pretty good temperature, because they can't regulate their body temperature like us. They don't make their own heat, so they have to do what they can with what the environment gives them. So they have to move around.
So in this case, they'd probably be staying close to the ground where it retains heat after the sun goes down, that kind of stuff.
Right, exactly. And
cool.
So actually I do check these at night occasionally, and some of the diurnal species, or the species that are around during the daytime, they actually go under the boards for nighttime for shelter.
Cool.
To maintain that heat as well. See, underneath this board.
Lots of insects.
Yeah, lots of insects. You got the cockroach here, some pill bugs, which is pretty common there.
Right.
There's tons of these under here. But when I flip these, and what these signs on the boards say, they're a little weathered, so you probably can't see them, is so when you walk up to a board, make sure you don't step on the board, because I've had some animals that have been crushed, and actually animals that I've pit tagged and seen for probably 2 years, they've been crushed and killed. So don't step on the board. If you do feel inclined to flip the board, do it very cautiously. Flip the board. If there's anything underneath it, shoo it out and make sure that it's out from under the board before you put it back down. And most importantly, don't move any individuals away from the area, because we're trying to see where they're moving to. And like that skink I was talking about earlier, it'd be bad if somebody moved it far away, because it kind of skews our study.
Right. Mm-hmm. So when you walk around out here and you see things out here that maybe to the untrained eye look like they're just pieces of wood and you can mess with them, well, please don't, because actually what's happening here is some pretty sensitive research.
Yeah, and so the other part of the research that we're doing, the project that's in its first year, is turtle trapping. And so
cool.
If you walk along the creek, maybe you'll see kind of some hoop nets out there, and it looks a little bit different, or some pieces of wrought iron that are about 10 feet tall that are in the water. And so basically what we're doing is much like what we're doing here with the reptiles and amphibians, the terrestrial ones. We're going into the aquatic zone, and we're seeing what turtles are there. If there's any salamanders that happen to get in our nets and stay in our nets, we'll count those as well. But mainly it's for turtles and the aquatic turtles that are in there. And I'm trying to think here. We just tagged 2 turtles yesterday, actually 3 turtles yesterday, and so we're up to, I think, over 30 turtles that we've pit tagged and marked out here.
Yeah, gosh, the last time I walked down along the stream in the pond there, the diversity of I guess reptiles and amphibians was just amazing.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that many just individuals just hanging out.
Right. Yeah, we have as far as frogs are concerned, we have about 3 or 4 species of amphibians, of frogs here, and turtles. So far in the study, we've had 3, but we know of 4 species out here, and we're hoping to get a 5th that we haven't seen out here.
Cool.
Which is a mud turtle, which is pretty cool.
And you mentioned you've got some video, so maybe at some point we'll put together a short video and put that on our Facebook page or our website, so people can kind of get an idea of what you actually do out here.
Yeah, I filmed the process of going out and setting the traps and putting the bait in there, and then I went through the process of taking the traps up, getting the turtles, especially snapping turtles, which are pretty dangerous to work with in nets, So showing how to get those out of the nets properly and safely, and then actually showing how we implant the turtles and then returning them originally back to the water.
So have you done any work on snakes out here?
Yeah, so these boards, there's quite a few snakes underneath them. This year and last year, not quite as much, which was a little bit interesting. You know, there's fluctuations year to year, and so you can't really always tell. But we have, 4 or 5 species, 6 species of snakes out here that we've seen. We have ringnecks, which are probably the most common. They're the little tiny snakes. They're dark in color with a little colorful ring and colorful bellies. We have bull snakes or gopher snakes out here. Those are our biggest species. We have racers, North American racers, which are kind of a yellow, some people call them yellow belly racers. They're kind of a yellow-green. They're very fast. They're a diurnal species. We have 2 species of garter snakes, the plains and the common garter snake. We just got the common, which is the first one for the study this year. And then the last one is the decayed brown snake, which is another small
if you've been doing this for what, you've started this, like you said, 4 years ago?
Yeah, this is the 4th summer.
So when you started, it was sort of a drought cycle, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was more of a drought cycle. Actually, we had just burned the property almost entirely. About 60% of the acreage that we have out here, we did a controlled burn to get rid of some of those invasive species and kind of replenish the nutrients back to the property. And so the boards went out that summer, and we didn't start seeing things until kind of mid to late summer when vegetation started.
That's definitely one of my goals for a live feed, or a special program is the next time we do a live burn out here, I really want to sort of talk to the experts involved and explain to people why doing something like that is important for, I guess, what would you call that? Ecological management, resource management.
So prescribed burning is really a management tool that ecologists use, and especially in the prairie system. Fire is incredibly important. It's a big part of the history and the processes of the prairie itself. And so fires come through and burn quite a lot of the prairie, and then that gets a lot of species out, some of the invasive species, and that gets some of those species that are fire adapted to come back and replenish some of those nutrients and really come up strong. So I mean, if you pan across now, we burned, I believe it was last spring, and it's just totally green and full out here. And part of that is because we've been doing these prescribed burns on a semi-regular basis, and some of the other management tools that we've been using.
And this is really, it's an amazing place, just behind the museum, just off the interstate. It doesn't take long to kind of lose yourself into this sort of what would you call this? A stream system, sort of a
it's a
riparian system.
Prairie, and we have a creek running through, which is pretty awesome.
Very cool. All right. Well, is it okay if I bug you again sometime in the in the near future, and we kind of follow up as we move into the end of summer into fall? It'd be really interesting to see what kind of things happen out here.
Yeah, for sure. And we can get you guys out and go on a live turtle trap check. And,
awesome.
That'll be pretty fun. So we can do all kinds of different things. I enjoy sharing my research.
The future is wide open.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So we're going to flip over, maybe. There we go.
There we go.
All right. So thank you for, watching us, and be sure to share and share
like,
and feed our staff. Share and
like, comment,
thank
all
you.
those good
our
social
live
media
feeds.
stuff.
Words are hard today. It must be a Friday.
Yeah, it feels like a Monday.
So, anyways, we will see you next week. Thank you, Jacob.
No problem.
For working with me.
Appreciate everybody watching.
All right. Until next time, be safe, be happy. We'll see you soon. Have a wonderful weekend.
See you guys.